We are back in the swing of things, guys. It is match day. It is Wednesday, the 24th of January. We are fast approaching the end of the January transfer window, but we are back at it. League action, thick and fast. It is coming. Hibs tonight, St Mirren Saturday. It is all up and running, guys. The league is back on. The chase is back on. And let me tell you something. The green and grey mob from across the city, we're coming to get you. And this is the first of our two games in hand. Obviously, the Ross County game became a kind of game in hand due to the fact that that game was cancelled. But realistically, the two games in hand are Hibernian and St Johnstone. So tonight is the first of those two games in hand. And like every game between now and the end of the season, this has become a must-win game. Yet again, our injury list has been added to, as you no doubt heard yesterday. Abdallah Sima is out long term, and we will hear after the game tonight just how long term that is. Now, I understand that Brighton are paying a very close interest into what is going on with Abda, with the nature of his injury, how long he is going to be out, how much football he is going to be missing. There is obviously that interest from his parent club. And obviously added to that as well was the absence of Kieran Dowell, who had surgery yesterday. Well, actually, it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. And he is, again, another long-term absentee, joining the forever injured Kemar Roof and obviously the long-term injury, which is pretty much going to be out for the season, of our £6 million centre forward from Brazil, Mr. Danilo Pereira. So tonight, Hibernian away. Easter Road, never an easy place to go. Never a full ground as well. Always interesting, that, isn't it? Especially when they don't give us a massive allocation and then they say they want to have more of their own fans in, then can't sell their own seats. Oh, well, never understand it. I'll never understand it. Obviously, their Edinburgh neighbours came back to win 3-2 last night, with Lawrence Shanklin the target for, well, alleged target of Rangers, missing a penalty, apparently. Perhaps that's because he knows that when he comes to Rangers, Tav will be on pen, so he doesn't need to worry about penalties. Sorry, conspiracy theory. Anyway, Hibs tonight. It is a game that is, like every game between now and the end of the season, a must-win game. A game where we must kind of make the best of what we have got. Now, we've got players returning from injury. Tom Lawrence is currently returning from injury. Ryan Jack is, which is, massive boosts for the club. Both of them played a part in the game against Dumbarton and obviously in the friendly as well against Copenhagen. I don't expect Philippe Clement to start them. Why don't I expect Philippe Clement to start them? Because he just has a history of not actually starting players who have missed time with injury. That's just not how he works. If you look back across his time at the club, he is always, players that have come back from injury have been kind of reintroduced slowly from the bench to gain their minutes, and then after two or three introductions from the bench have then been considered as starting players. So I think, realistically, as mixed as Todd Cantwell's form has been in that 10 role, Todd has kind of blown very hot and cold. Look, I don't want to particularly slag him off because that's not who I am. I love Todd Cantwell. I'm a massive fan of Todd Cantwell. I love the kid. I think he's a brilliant player. I think he's got the potential to be a fantastic footballer. I think that he understands what it is to be a Rangers player. I think he loves the club. You've only got to see some of his, again, I know it's social media, but his social media posts to understand his love for Rangers. But look, he hasn't been great this season. There's been moments when he's been fantastic and he's done really well. He's linked well with Silva at times. Him and Silva have had a really interesting relationship at times, and I'll touch on that shortly. But for me, at times this season, he's kind of flattered to deceive, hasn't he? And we really do need him to get back to that Todd Cantwell that we've seen in flashes this season and certainly towards the end of last season, if we are going to be challenging for this league title. Like I said, I think if Tom Lawrence was fit, then maybe Tom starts. Maybe Tom takes his place. Tom Lawrence is a very, very fine player. I like Tom Lawrence. I think he's a great player. I think he's got an eye for a goal. I think he's got a nice pass on him. I think he's a very fine player, but his injuries do hold him back. Now, look, before we actually carry on about the Hibs game, one little thing I want to dismiss. Now, yesterday we talked on the podcast, which I've actually deleted off the channel for a couple of reasons. One, because of one idiot member, and number two, because of the fact that the sound quality was just poor on it. I don't want substandard quality on my channel. What is it? Well, you know, this was the rumour that was started by Dutch football and by Voetbal International last night. The Rangers have approached FC Twente to sign fullback Smal. The 26-year-old left back is out of contract now. According to Chris Jack, he has said that the club are not interested, something that Heart and Hand and Four Lads have not denied. So, according to Chris Jack, and whatever if you want to believe Chris and you think Chris is a reliable source, then obviously understand that. But apparently, he said that Rangers aren't interested at all. But look, I think whatever it is, whatever the link is, whatever the rumor is at this moment in time, we have to take everything with a little pinch of salt, a little pinch of sugar, whatever we want to take it with a pinch of, we take it with that pinch. Now, let's get back to tonight's game. Let's get back to a bit of match day news. Let's get back to focusing on the game against Hibernian. Now, Hibernian will be no mugs coming into tonight's game. Yes, they're not in the best of form. They play a very traditional 4-4-2. If you look at their last Scottish Premier League game, a 2-2 draw at home against Motherwell. You're not a great Motherwell team as well. You've got to kind of think that if they're struggling to beat Motherwell at home, maybe they're not that any great shakes. And look, they're not a great team. They're a decent team, but they're not a top team. And realistically, we need to get a bit of swagger, a bit of arrogance back about us, a bit of we are Glasgow Rangers back about us, a bit of the old days of the Graham Souness era, everyone hates us, we don't care kind of philosophy. Their last game out, their lineup was a 4-4-2. Obviously, Nick Montgomery, who was their manager, very attacking formation. And I think, you probably see something similar tonight. They'll try and use their speedy wingers to get at us. I think they'll fancy themselves to get in behind the wingers. I think, if Barisic starts and Tavernier start, they certainly will fancy that. That's why I would start Ridvan over Borna. I think he's a better defender, quicker as well. So last time out, they started with David Marshall in goal, a back four of Whittaker, Fish, Hanlon, and Obita. Midfield four of Yuan, who, certainly is someone who in the past has troubled Tav and got at Tav. And I think that is obviously a concern. I think, whoever plays right wing tomorrow is going to have to, today, he's going to have to support Tav and track back and certainly help to double up on that, on old Yuan. Levitt, Newell in midfield with Tavares on the left wing. Again, someone, has played left, has played right. Yuan's gone left and right. So, it is an interchange of wingers. So, you may see that again. Up front, they've got Doige and Venter. So, again, a two-man attack. So, like I said, I think they will come out and actually try and play football. They're not a team that go out with a low block. They're not a team that go out and kind of try and frustrate. That's not how Nick Montgomery plays. And, trying to play football against Rangers, you could say was a mistake. Certainly, with the talent-wise, realistically, you look at our squad, even with the injuries and the suspensions, we should have more than enough to actually get past Hibernian tonight at Easter Road. And I'm going to talk about the team that I would pick. I have changed it slightly after a little bit of pressure from my subscribers. So the league at the moment sits like this. So look, a win tomorrow night, 49 points. We close that down to just 5 points, getting ever closer. Win the other game in hand, 2 points. It's getting closer. That little red X after that Celtic game at Parkhead, controversial game at Parkhead, which gets a lot of us in trouble. Does sort of stand out on that record of 4 wins out of the last 5 for Rangers. You look at Rangers' record and the 4 defeats, they sting. They really do. The Kilmarnock game, the Aberdeen game, the 2 Celtic games, they're the 4 games that we've lost. Obviously, the 2 Old Firm games really hit home. Not games that we want to lose. We really do need to get back to winning Old Firm games that matter. Yes, we won that Old Firm game at the end of last season. That kind of didn't really matter. It was a dead rubber because they'd already won the league. But we've got to get back to winning those Old Firm games that matter. You look at Hibernian and their record. They sit 6th in the table. Hearts sit 3rd after their victory last night. They're now some 7 points behind us. So, not any slip ups. I mean, we don't want to let Hearts think they've got an opportunity of trying to catch us, which I don't think is at all attainable. But Hibs in 6th anyway. 20 games played, 6 wins, 7 draws, 7 defeats, 26 goals scored, 29 goals conceded, to a -3 goal difference. They do concede goals. Their last 5 games, their form is not great. If you look at that, is it? 3 defeats out of their last 5, 1 draw, and only 1 win in their last 5. Not impressive at all. Now, I know we've had the winter break. That's kind of broken things down a little bit, hasn't it? But, tonight is again, it's a kind of win or bust, isn't it? We've got to win tonight. We've got to get back into, being that force that we were before the Celtic game when we just kept on winning. Obviously, Hibernian was Philippe Clement's first game in charge, and it was a 4-0 victory. And Philippe talked about the fact that that really didn't reflect the two teams on the day, and maybe it didn't, but we need to try and get that back to that and really try to push that in terms of that is what we're aiming for, not just to beat teams, but to put teams to the sword. Now, having a little think about what I think Philippe Clement will reasonably do. Now, I've heard talk of possibly them starting Ryan Jack. Could happen, I suppose. Jack and Lundstrom. Jack is obviously, top quality for dropping in and covering for Tav when he goes forward, covering for Yilmaz or Borna when they go forward. I really don't hope that Borna doesn't start tomorrow. Obviously, I think, Jack Butland starts in goal. He'll be back. Obviously, Robbie McCrory's played some of the friendlies. He's also played that cup game against Dumbarton, but realistically, league-wise and Europa League-wise, Philippe Clement is going to go with the player of the season so far, Jack Butland, who's just super Jack Butland in goal. Back four, we obviously have to make changes to that back four with Connor Goldson been out, so James Tavernier starts at right back. I think, Tav loves a goal against Hibs. Again, Tav is going to be key to that. He's going to have to defend well against Yuan or against Tavares, whoever's up against him. And he's going to have to obviously get forward as well and supply the strikers. Well, that lines up. I don't know. We'll talk about that when we get there, when we get up front. Suter and I'm going to go Suter and King, or it could be easily Suter and Balogun in that defensive pairing. I think Balogun probably starts over King, but you never know. Ridvan Yilmaz at left back, I think, is a definite. Raskin and Lundstrom. I just think Lundstrom obviously is your sitter, the man who's going to defend for you, the man who's going to sit in front and protect that back four. And Raskin's kind of, I don't know, he's getting back towards match fitness. He looked a little bit more impressive against Dumbarton, always offering for the ball, always being there for the ball. So for me, I think you've got to give Raskin his opportunity to play there. And Raskin is he's not a 6, is he? He's more an 8. He's a guy who will go box to box. He'll get forward. And I think that's what we need there alongside Lundstrom. And the fact that he can defend as well puts him in a really good position. The three behind the striker, I think Matondo and McCausland go out wide. Realistically, because with Seema out injured and obviously meant to be on AFCON duty, there is literally at this moment in time, without any signings, no one else. Yes, I do have concerns about Robbie Matondo. His end product is extremely mixed. Yes, he did score that goal against Copenhagen, but then again against Dumbarton, he kind of lacked that finishing touches or that quality cross into the box. Ross McCausland, I thought, looked effective against Dumbarton. Looked effective the last few games. Ross is very confident. Ross is a good player. I think that Ross will start on that wide right-hand side. Now, for me, I would put Fabio Silva up front. I think, Cantwell and Silva have a very interesting relationship, don't they? They do work well together. They interchange well. There's times when Cantwell gets an advance of Silva. Silva drops back. I just think against Hibs, that might be something different, something they're not used to, something they're not expecting. Now, I know Cyril Dessers has scored. He scored on Saturday, and he also missed a whole host of chances. Look, Dessers has scored a few goals recently. I understand that, and people say that he's on track to get 20 this season, which would be fantastic if he did. But I have two main worries about Cyril Dessers. Worry one is that he takes too many touches at times, when he could be a bit more clinical. And I think we've got to kind of find a way around our striker problems at the moment. We haven't got an out-and-out striker who we can rely on. And when we go away to Hibs, you're going to have to rely on people to take chances when they present themselves. So for me, I start Silva over Dessers. He's, like I said, Dessers, yes, he scored goals, and I credit him for that. But what I do worry, like I said, is that wanting to take too many touches. Celtic game, Hertha game, Copenhagen game. He just wants to take too many touches of the ball at times, and then his shot ends up getting blocked. The second thing that worries me is the fact that he needs too many chances to score a single goal. I mean, 5 chances to score 1 on Saturday against a very poor Dumbarton team. Some of those shots I think, NASA are still looking for out in space. I mean, that's how bad they actually were. So look, for me, you start Fabio Silva up front. Yes, you've got Dessers on the bench if you need him, but Silva, for me, you've got to try and get a bit more confidence in Dessers. I thought Silva looked lively when he came on. I thought he worked hard. I thought he could have had a goal or two. He did very well. And we've got to see what we've got in this lad. And it may be that he's not the answer, and that we do obviously need, and I do think we do need to go and buy a striker, whoever that may be. Look, whatever happens tonight, it's got to be a game that we go out there and we play from minute 1 to minute 90. This is not a 45-minute performance that we'll do. It's not a 20-minute performance or a 20 minutes either side of half time kind of performance. It's a full 90 minutes that is needed. This is no mugs. They're no mugs, Hibs. They will be up for it. They will be out to try and get their revenge against us. We do need to get those points. And this is a classic game where, perhaps in the past we would slip up. I do hope that Philippe Clement has got them good, up and raring to go, ready for tonight's game, and hopefully getting that victory. As I said in the podcast last night, performance, I think a 3-1 victory for Rangers. That's what I'm going for. Can't quite see us keeping a clean sheet, but a 3-1 victory nonetheless. Well, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. And obviously, as well, come and join us for the live stream of tonight's game here on the channel just before we kick off. So please come and join me for that. Thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. And as always, 2 things I always ask of you. Number 1, smash the like. It helps the channel. It helps the video. Don't understand how, but apparently it helps. And the second thing, always remember, never forget, we are the people.